So here we are, episode 15 of the Two Russells podcast. And I'd love to say thank you to everyone so far for the wonderful feedback on the previous episodes, particularly episode 14 and a half. That certainly put us through our paces, Russell.
Yeah, no, it really did. That was a bit of an about turn. Look, we're on a roll, I think it's fair to say. I'm getting doorstepped all the time and messages that people actually like this stuff, believe it or not.
Yeah.
People like this, I guess, which is why it's lasted.
It's a first for you,
15.
Russell.
It is. I'm not normally liked, so we must be doing something right. Maybe it's just your mind. There's a yin and a yang going on here, I think. Good cop, bad cop, I don't know. Whatever it is, it seems to be working. So we're going to do more of it.
Well, yeah, we need to do more of it. And if you're enjoying it, please can you like and subscribe on those little buttons below, because that will really help us be able to reach more people and get more great people on the podcast, like we have today. The only lady that I know of who has made Russell Quirk cry. So I'll let you do the intro.
I know, I think it was just a coincidence. I think I just had something in my eye at the same time as this particular individual was on stage at the Women in Estate Agency Conference. Clare Hughes, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I didn't know I'd made you cry. I apologise.
Yeah, but I didn't want anyone to know, and now he's told the millions of people that watch this podcast.
I think there were quite a lot of people with something in their eye that day throughout the
Well,
day.
I was going to say, it wasn't just you. I mean, the stories at that Women in Estate Agency Conference back in March of, frankly, challenge, inspiration, hardship. It was a very kind of thought-provoking and, quite emotional afternoon, frankly.
It was great.
Yeah,
great
it really was.
There was laughter as well.
There was, but it was a very, very compelling thing.
And there's been big news on Women in Estate Agency, which we'll come on to shortly, but big news on sponsorship for the next couple of years.
We've got a partnership with Rightmove now with a 2-year partnership there, which means that we're introducing some leadership training, which Joe Bourne and Claire Yates are putting together for us. I'm pretty sure that's now sold out. So the first two
Brilliant.
sessions have been sold out, which is great. They're going to be the headline sponsor for the next two conferences, and it just means we can do so much more. We've got we called them regional advocates. We've now rebranded that as regional champions, and we had the first meeting at Rightmove HQ last week. An amazing group of women, and they can go back to their communities and really make a difference to women in the estate agency throughout the country.
We obviously want to talk about you. We'd like to talk about your property career, kind of where you are, where you've been. We want to talk a bit about you specifically, which is obviously what I think we do quite well on this podcast, to talk about journeys and challenges and so on. So we'll get into that. But I guess just kind of thinking about the Women in Estate Agency concept just for a minute or so further, the concept itself and the organisation, do you think that now you're kind of 2 or 3 years in, you're actually making a difference to the industry?
I think we're beginning to, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done. And if anybody asks us if it's necessary, then the answer is
sadly so.
Yeah, sadly so. And we wish it wasn't. But I'd like to think, I have a daughter who's now 26. I'd like to think that she would not experience some of the things that women tell us about in her working career. But so until we're not necessary, we'll be there.
We'll be there as well. We're very much looking forward to
men need to be in this part of this conversation. And the first conference, I think we had 10% male attendance. The second one, 20%. So they're getting the message.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Indeed.
So that's right up to date. That's where we are now.
Yeah.
But let's go all the way back then, Claire. So where did it all begin for you in the property world?
So I started, and somebody asked me this recently, how I started in it, and I just fell into relocation work. I had a friend who had heard about doing relocation, and I live in East London. There weren't any relocation agents that could cover sort of Canary Wharf, Shoreditch. Those areas were becoming fashionable for the city and finance workers. And so traditionally they all covered Kensington, home counties and things. So I was like, I can do that. So I did. I did that for a number of years, and then I worked with a couple of independent agents, again on the Wharf and Stratford, all the new builds that you see in the area. And then I joined PurpleBricks in 2014, I think it was.
And did you join as a territory owner?
I was a territory owner for lettings because Simon Taylor had already got the sales territory in East London.
Yeah.
But I had huge territory. I remember sitting down with Kenny and Michael, and they said, "Oh, can you take the whole of the East?" And I thought, "Yeah, of course I can." "Can you take IG and RM as well?" "Yeah."
Well, hang on.
There's a lot of chimney pots.
So all of the E postcodes and IG and RM.
Yeah.
That's
and then
about
I realised
a million
The
households.
corporates would have
I
like 30 offices in that, wouldn't they?
RM, I then quickly found out, goes out to Grays.
Yes.
Well, I've never been to Grays in my life.
Yeah.
So
You haven't missed a lot.
so we yeah, I know. I went once on one
It was
valuation.
my first job at a estate agency in Grey, so I'm allowed to slag it off.
Yeah.
It's not the most salubrious of areas.
It isn't
I
the
think it's
prettiest of
fair to
towns,
say.
is it?
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we dropped RM. I kept IG. Got some. I can't remember what we used to call them. LPAs.
LPEs,
property experts.
local property
LPEs.
experts.
Yeah. Yes, LPEs.
But it was separate. Sales and lettings were separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were always insistent on that. I'm not entirely sure why, actually. I think there could have been. You could have had. I could have worked quite well together with Simon. He's with EXP now. I work very closely with him.
He's a character, isn't he?
I know.
How was that cult of PurpleBricks on the inside? From the outside, looking at the rapid growth, the expansion. There was even a competitor trying to do something similar.
Great fun. It really was a lot of fun in those early days.
And what were the years that you were at PurpleBricks from?
So
when to when?
I was there. So 2014 was it 2014? I think so. And I was there for about 5.5, 6 years.
Yeah.
So
you were there from the beginning.
for the beginning of lettings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were the first training group for lettings,
Yeah.
so that they'd already sort of established themselves in sales. It was just great fun. I'm sure you know Kenny and Michael. They throw a good party.
Yeah.
So the conferences were a lot of fun. There was a lot of energy. The culture in the company was fantastic, and yeah, it did change when they left.
I was going to say, so you saw the whole journey from almost when it was founded, private
Yeah.
business, raising a bit of money, then it became a listed business. Previous to that, of course, it went on the international expansion trail.
Yeah.
So it was, I think, Australia first,
Australia and then
Germany, US, Canada, and so
Yeah.
on. So you were there for all of that. So
Yeah.
what was that like to be part of that community? As presumably you're getting announcements by memo, by email from Michael and Kenny saying, right, now we're in such and such a country. Now we're in
Video,
such and
wouldn't
such
you?
a
I think there'd
country.
be video.
Well,
I think it was being part of something that was making a difference to the industry.
even though PurpleBricks by the industry were hated.
Yeah, but I think they had vision. They could see there was a need for something else, and I know that PurpleBricks agents are now employed, but there was definitely an appetite for people running their own businesses. Now, when I look back, we were told you're business owners. We weren't, because everything was being dictated, fees and territories and everything. But it was it was a transition, I think, in mindset.
Yeah.
To certainly for me, but I think.
Do you think it was a stepping stone to where you are now?
100%, but also for lots of other agents.
Yeah.
In EXP and other self-employed models as well.
I guess there's no doubt that PurpleBricks, they were the first self-employed model in Britain.
Yeah.
So even though self-employed as a concept has been alive and growing well in the United States and Europe, we've never really had it here up until 2013, 14 when PurpleBricks started.
And they were an absolute machine. I mean, we were trading up against them in various locations, including East London. I think Medway and Kent, they were incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Up in Leicester, we couldn't get close to them. They were incredibly strong. So, you felt the power.
In the IG postcodes, there's a guy, he's still there actually, and because it's kind of that mid-range, I think the high range, high value properties, they didn't take off in quite the same way as they did in sort of mid-range. Yeah, really, really strong.
So why did you leave?
Why did I leave? Well, it all sort of came about. So I was lazy. I should have left before, really, but I didn't know what else I was going to do.
I don't think anyone's ever characterised you, Claire, as being lazy.
But okay,
Have you just had a half marathon?
I was. Kenny and Michael had gone. The culture in the company had changed.
So who's the CEO? Vic Darby?
Pardon?
Vic Darby?
Yes, he
New
was.
CEO?
Yeah. So the sales agents had already transitioned to employed. We were assured, of course, that wasn't going to happen to lettings.
But it did.
I didn't. Of course, I didn't believe that for 1 minute. So I was thinking, what am I going to do? And then which sort of brings me quite nicely onto health issues, because my health was deteriorating. So it didn't seem like the best time to be making a huge
change.
transition. And so I was just coasting, probably for a year and a half. And then I went to see my neurosurgeon. I had 6 monthly reviews.
So hang on, we
need to go back a bit, really.
Do you mind if we drill down here? I mean, obviously, look, the career journey then gets to EXP, where you are now, right?
Yeah.
So you've been with EXP for how long?
4 years next week.
4 years. How's that going?
It's fantastic.
So giving you what? Money, lifestyle?
So I have.
Is it as good as Adam Day cracked it up to be?
Well, for me it is, yes. I mean, it's a personal journey for everybody, isn't it? But for me, it absolutely works. I can work flexibly, which is important to me.
Yeah.
For all sorts of reasons. I probably earn twice, if not more than that I would earn on the high street if I'd gone back to.
So you're earning twice as much as you would on the high street?
I would say so, yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So the kind of the prophecies and the statements around earnings being greater than the high street are true.
Well, for me,
you.
yes, yeah.
But
I say, hundreds of other agents
Yeah.
across the country, though it's true for them as well.
As well.
And how much time do you spend being an agent versus recruiting agents? Because that's often labelled.
We don't
EXP.
recruit.
Are you an estate agent or are you a recruiter?
And often the question is even harsher than that, which is, are you really an agent or are you a recruiter in EXP?
We talk about agent attraction rather than recruitment.
Okay. But you can be both, right?
Yeah, of course
I'm
I do.
an agent attractor then.
Yes. Rather than an attractive agent.
But I think, so I share my story, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I reach out to agents and, is this something you're interested in? And if they're not, they're not. And if they want to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, so it's pretty informal, pretty casual.
It's really informal. It's not like a recruiter would do it.
You haven't got a scooter.
Sorry?
You haven't got a scooter. Recruiter on a scooter.
But I guess the real question for, and look, this isn't designed as an advert for EXP or any other self-employed agency, but from the point of view of combining the best of all worlds around earnings and life, work, balance, lifestyle, and so on.
Yeah.
You were saying to us earlier that you think that what you've got, not necessarily just because it's EXP, but because you've decided to go down the self-employed route, you've got the best of all worlds.
Yeah. And to use Glenn Sanford's phrase, a better life.
Yes. A better life.
Yeah.
Let's talk about life, shall we? Because we were talking off camera about when you were there at PurpleBricks and you weren't feeling too good and your children were starting to tease you a little bit. So
I was feeling okay. My children were taking the mickey out of me because I didn't always hear everything. So I went to my GP and explained what was happening, sent me to audiology for a hearing test, and they sent me for an MRI because there was a disparity between the hearing on left and right. And it transpired I had a benign brain tumour. It's called an acoustic neuroma. It sits on the acoustic nerve. And that was causing issues with my hearing, but also my balance, spatial awareness. It's a whole variety. But it was very small at the time. So we caught it very early.
And when was this? What year?
I think it was 2014.
So as you started at
So
PurpleBricks.
it all happened at the same time.
Yeah. So you're diagnosed. What then happens?
So then I had a treatment called a gamma knife treatment, which is basically like a mega dose of radiotherapy, which in 95% of cases with a tumour this small, because it was only 1.5 centimetres at the time, should have dealt with it. And then because the gamma knife actually makes the tumour swell, it takes them a long time, in my case, a few years, to decide whether it's actually the swelling or whether the tumour's continuing to grow.
So you don't know for a period of time.
Well, no, because 6 monthly scans. It was benign. I must stress it is benign tumour. So it's not like an aggressive malignant tumour. It's not going to grow quickly.
No, but it still affects you because it's in your brain cavity and presumably it's pressurising your brain.
So eventually it was starting to press on my brain stem. So I had, passed out a few times. I had some admissions to hospital for, somebody my age with passing out. They think it's a stroke and it's not a stroke. And I have to explain that I've got this tumour. And so eventually I went to see my consultant, and he said, we really think a surgery is the way to go here.
And sorry, what's the period of time between being diagnosed, having the gamma knife treatment, and then knowing that you've then got to be under surgery?
Gamma knife would be in 2015.
Yeah.
But I didn't have surgery until February 2020.
Goodness me.
Oh, wow.
So for 5 years, you're living with this, working through this as well.
Yeah.
Raising your family.
Did it affect me? I mean, I could still drive then, so it was. I suppose it was much easier. It's a small tumour.
But Claire, can I just say you're kind of almost making light of it. I mean, you've emphasised that it's benign. Okay, so it's benign rather than malignant. You've emphasised that it was small. You're almost dismissing it as kind of it was kind of no big deal kind of thing. A lot of people would have been, I mean, horrified, would have probably collapsed in, with emotion. No, they would have done on the basis that, oh my goodness, what does this mean for me in my life? You kind of soldiered on. What made you do that?
I don't think it's soldiering. I mean, well, what's the alternative? I don't want to sort of hide away and let it define me. Researched it without going down the Dr. Google rabbit hole too far, because you'll always find something that you don't want to see. Joined an association, a support group because they're quite rare, these tumours, so there aren't that many people that I know of that have had them. So just joined a support group so that I could find out other people's experiences, what they went through.
I bet that was incredibly helpful, wasn't it?
Hugely helpful. Yeah, hugely helpful. Yeah. And then life goes on. 3 children. Yeah.
Okay, so you have the surgery.
Yeah.
What's the effect?
So the surgery. So in order to remove it, they've had to remove the whole of the sort of inner ear. So I have no hearing on my left side, and of course, if you know how the inner ear works, that's your balance as well. Yeah. So my right vestibular organs need to compensate for the left. Doesn't always work, but spatial awareness is really shot. My vision, so I don't drive. Ever since the surgery, I haven't driven. And obviously I have a facial palsy, which...
so that's as a consequence, not so much of the tumour, but of the surgery.
That's the surgery. And there's because of where the tumour's on the acoustic nerve and the facial nerve, the main facial nerve, is very, very close. So there's always a risk when they're doing that kind of surgery.
Yeah.
You come out of surgery, you're in recovery, you learn about your balance issues. Were you active running and doing all those things before, or was that something you thought, right, I'm gonna prove?
No, I started running probably, I don't know, when the children were quite small. I found it a useful exercise to do because you didn't have to agree to go to the gym at a certain time or a class or something. So it just said, okay, kids have just gone to school, I'll go out for a run, or kids have gone to bed or whatever. So I did run, and I ran a few marathons, and then I suppose life got in the way. I didn't run as much, but
you have recently.
Yeah.
What have you done?
I did a half marathon a couple of weeks ago, which was...
Okay, hang on, just stop there, right? So you've just been through what you've been through. You've had almost the entirety of one of your inner ears removed. You've got problems with, therefore, balance and hearing, and you've still decided to do a half marathon.
Yes.
And completed it.
But yes, but I did that for the a brain tumour charity. I think I owe it to somebody.
Did you do it for yourself too?
Always for myself, really, because I think it's to set yourself goals. I think is quite a useful thing to do. So I thought, well, let's see if I can do that. And it's not been announced yet, but we've got a big event happening next year for the Women Estate Agency, run fundraising with them as well. And I'm thinking, well, how big a challenge can I do there? So,
but you're going to set yourself a bigger challenge, I bet.
Oh, it will be
bigger than a half marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not running necessarily.
Okay.
So Claire, look, I think those watching and listening to this are going to be quite interested in how your illness, the tumour, and also the surgery and the effects of it have affected you, kind of from a mindset perspective, really. So when your surgery was 2020,
yeah,
so you're 4 years on.
But it was almost kind of perfect timing, because
as perfect as surgery can be in timing terms.
Because 2020 pandemic, so I was at home recovering, thinking, don't really like being at PurpleBricks, but it's going to get me through this, this recovery period. And then we all went into lockdown, and the world went mad.
Yeah.
And we were at home, managed to get all three of the children, they're adults, who were in their 20s at the time, managed to get them home as well. It was a lovely summer, and we actually had quite a nice time, all at home
In your
together.
bubble?
Pardon?
In your bubble?
In our bubble.
Yeah.
Families
Yeah.
being forced
Yeah.
to be with each other and
Yeah.
eat together.
Yeah.
And,
I know,
wow.
I know.
It goes one way or another.
Yeah.
And
There's a benefit.
but it
right?
gave me time to reflect, and I thought, I really don't want to be at PurpleBricks anymore. It is not the company that I joined. So, and EXP came along. Simon Taylor, who I've already mentioned, he'd already joined EXP. I thought, that's perfect for me. So as I come out of, the recovery period, that's when I launched.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to generate income? Because that's another big piece of the self-employed world. And I think a lot of people would step in if they could see a path to income straight away. But how long would it take to get income?
I'm a huge advocate of having lettings as well as sales, because most people in the property world will know some people. They've got friends who've got buy-to-let properties. So you can get a quick win just on some tenant fines. So income started coming in sort of fairly well within a month or two, I would say.
But you're doing both now. So you're
But
doing
I do
sales
both,
and lettings.
yeah. So I have, tenant fines, managed portfolio, and I do sales as well.
And you work in the village of Wanstead, so
Lovely Wanstead.
Your typical day. What's a typical day for Clare at EXP?
Right, I am not one of those people that gets up at 5 or 6 in the morning. I just don't do that. Effectively, I do have a brain injury, and I don't necessarily fire on all cylinders straight away in the morning. I like to do some exercise. So whether that's a short run or a little HIIT class or something, and then probably at my desk from about 9:30. Appointments throughout the week, responding to emails. It's a steady day, and then in the middle of the day, I might take the dogs out for a walk. It's.
Well, you couldn't do that if you were in a Bairstow Eaves office, could you?
I definitely couldn't do that if I was at Bairstow Eaves.
Or other agents.
Or other agents, yes, yeah.
Well, I think Paul Smith at your old place, he's that flexible, isn't he?
Oh,
He'd let you take the dog out.
Definitely take the dog
Wouldn't
out,
he? If you just said, I've got to pop out to the gym at 3 o'clock in the
Well, get
afternoon.
him on here and you can ask
It'd be
him.
fine.
If
He
you
won't
can,
come on.
he won't
Paul
come
Smith,
on.
where are you? We've asked you 17 times. Why don't you come on?
No.
Won't come on.
Yeah, and then, I do have to listen to my body. There are some days where, the middle of the afternoon, I am just wiped out. I have no idea why. There's no sort of continuity in that. It just happens, and I'll sit down and I'll nod off for 15, 20 minutes.
I've got to
My
take
dad
us.
was a great advocate of power naps.
I've
Power
got to
naps.
take us back. I've got to take us back to mindset. I don't believe that the tumour and the trauma of surgery has not affected you in the long term, and I'm wondering if that is positive or negative. My feeling is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that experience has almost inspired you, accelerated you, made you feel more determined. I mean, Pete, you say, well, what else am I going to do? Give up? Well, yes, some people do that.
Yeah.
They turn to either being introspective, alcohol, or whatever. You not only seem to have shrugged it off, but what I'm trying to get to is, in your mind now, do you think, okay, I've kind of cheated death here. You might not see it as that, but a tumour's a tumour, right? And I guess if you hadn't treated it, you wouldn't be here now.
Probably not, no.
There you go.
Yeah.
So how does that make you think about family, life, career going forward? Do you feel like you've almost had a second chance, second win, so that therefore makes you more determined to take advantage of aspects of life previous to how you would have felt?
Yeah, it's kind of feel the fear and do it anyway, but it's kind of...
But be honest, because you're very cool. I have to say, you're very cool in a good way, and I mean that as a compliment.
Matter of fact, it was just
Yeah,
a tumour.
but there must be something in your mind thinking, I can't swear, but I'm just right. Okay, now I'm going to do those things that I didn't do.
I mean, that is my attitude, and it's big girl's pants and just get on with it.
Yeah,
because life is too short, really.
Exactly.
Not to live it. Yeah.
Do you do things now? Might be travel, family stuff that you think I'm going to do that because who knows? Mortality
Not so
has
much.
knocked on my door, and as a consequence, I'm going to
Not so
I'm going
much
to do the
that,
stuff.
because
That
I don't feel as if I've cheated death.
but you have.
Right, I've just dealt with it, but it's from a business perspective. So when going back to sort of post-surgery, just getting used to the paralysis, the facial paralysis. Didn't know if it was going to be permanent or not at that stage, because well, there was some recovery. It was worse at the time, and during COVID, I was doing some online sort of business networking things, and I connected with this guy up on the Wirral. he does online networking, and he said, "Claire, you've got to do video." And I said, "I can't do video." I've always hated video. Back in the day with management training courses,
you're on video now.
I know. And I always hated those. Always hated them. So I explained to him why I couldn't do video, and he said, "But Claire, that's your superpower."
Yeah.
The face is my superpower. People will remember me, whether it's good or bad. Anyhow, so I did a very short video. It was nothing to do with business. It was just me. I had the dog. I had one dog at the time, walking down by the river. Really good response to that. Nothing negative. I thought, I can do this. And is that?
So was that the hurdle that you needed to get over to do that for the first time?
Yeah. Because without video, it would be more difficult to build my business.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much easier.
And do you think that speaks to personal brand to an extent?
Definitely a personal brand in my.
But you're also not just giving back in estate agency terms. You give back in all sorts of ways, Claire, don't you? You volunteer for lots of different areas. I've seen, and you throw yourself into women in estate agency. So you're keeping yourself constantly busy.
And if I hadn't joined EXP, I probably never would have met Liana. And Liana and I co-founded the Women in Estate Agency. It was just a little Facebook group at the time, 200 or 300 members, interviewing people, and it's it's grown from there, and it's a real movement now. And none of that would have happened. And would it have happened without all the tumour? I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Know.
Maybe not.
Look, the feeling not.
Look, but there are some people that think that and believe that from adversity can come opportunity, and some people that believe that from adversity I can just feel sorry for myself. You're definitely in the former camp.
Right. I'm one of 5 children. I'm number 4. You just got on with things. So I think that part of it is upbringing, and if we as children, if we were sick, if you wanted something to eat, you came down to the table. If you weren't well enough to get to the table, then you weren't really sick.
It's very different to the kids growing up today.
Yes.
I know. Mine included.
Yeah. What brought you from Lancashire down to?
Because I noticed you've lost the accent. Have you worked hard to try and get rid of the Lancashire accent?
No, I haven't worked on it at all.
It's coming back slightly.
So most of the time it's still a Glass and France and Bath, but sometimes it softens. So I came down to work and met my husband, and the rest is history. But most of my family now live in the Lake District.
Oh, do they?
There's only one sister left in Lancashire. The rest, because we always used to holiday up there and sail on Coniston and walk up the Old Man, and
So that was the history. What's the future looking like for Claire? What's next?
So still growing my business within EXP. I'm growing a network within EXP as well.
How many do you have in your
26.
26?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
In what do they call it? The downline.
Downline, yes. Which is like a real American term. I think we need to anglicise it somehow, don't we?
Yeah. What make it sound a bit more British?
Yeah. So I want to
your
club.
Club. Yeah. Continue to build a managed portfolio, so that because that's an asset that I can sell.
Yeah.
When I decide to no longer work.
And if I'm one of your 26, what am I getting from you? Do I get coaching, mentoring?
As much as I need, so I've got 2 people on my level 1 who I've never met. One of them I speak to regularly, and the other one, she just doesn't want to speak to me. She just needs a vehicle to
work,
a platform for her business, and EXP was perfect for her. As I say, I'd never met her, and she just said, right, I want to join EXP, and I want to join with Clare Hughes. That's fine.
Fantastic.
And a really good agent. She runs a really nice business. She's got lettings as well, obviously.
So you're in a good place.
I'm in a really good place.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really good place.
From, as we discussed, from a place of kind of adversity and concern. How do your family feel about, who you are now and what you're doing? Well, I guess they've been supportive through
but hugely supportive.
your health issue.
So my daughter came to the conference last year because she wanted to. Well, she's my biggest supporter. I would say, because it's the women in estate agency.
Are any of them in property, your kids?
No, God no.
Well, you've deterred them.
No, they're just not interested. No, they're quite sporty. They've always sort of work in the sports field, and women in estate agency. They can see how that's growing, and they're very proud of me.
So they should be.
Yes.
So they should be.
They should.
How do people get in touch with you, Claire, if they want to know more about your journey? They want to explore your downline,
they
or
can
know about
easily
women in
find me
estate
on
agency?
social media. I'm a bit of a tart on social media, so LinkedIn or Facebook, they'll find me quite easily.
I think many will be thinking about the women in estate agency role. You know, you as one of the founders. I guess, how they can join, and maybe the other question is why they should. I mean, it might seem obvious, but why do you think?
So I do
that
get
someone should
asked
join?
about this quite a lot. You know, what is the Facebook group all about? It, and it's still female only. The conference is obviously we want men there, but sometimes the conversations in the group are they're very ordinary conversations, but there are women that still don't feel comfortable asking for advice when it's a wider audience because they feel that they will be criticised or judged in some way. So a real safe space for women in the property sector, and that can be conveyancers, surveyors. It's not just estate and letting agents. And that community continues to grow. We're approaching 4,000 members now. And I just
and not just for women that might have an issue. So we recently spoke to Lucy Noonan. I'm not suggesting she's got an issue now, but she's had issues with men. It's fair to say. But Lucy particularly obviously had an experience in a previous employment that had kind of played on her mind. It was not a particularly pleasant experience. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something like that. It might just be that it's a place for women to kind of seek community from.
Yes.
So you'd encourage anyone in the property industry, presumably, to join.
It could be a question about what's the best bit of prop tech for whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And
so general advice.
Just general advice, but without fear of being criticised, because sometimes. It's that thing.
Without mansplaining.
The only stupid question is one you don't ask, but people are fearful of asking, and I think they feel safer in that group than they perhaps would in a wider group.
Yeah. Well, Claire, I think you might not think it. I think you're very inspiring. I think you're a woman of great courage, and one that I think people watching this and listening to this are going to take lessons from.
100%.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you. So that's it. That's the end of episode 15. Thank you for tuning in. It just leaves me to say it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.